I like it so much better.
I was thinking the negative stuff.
Good evening, everyone. We will call the Tuesday, January 20, 2015 meeting to order. And the first order of business is the roll call.
Scott. Here. Drew. Here. Lewis. Doyle. Here. Wright. Here. Estes. Nordstrom. Here. Roberts. Here. Weifenbach. Here. Lorente. Here. We have quorum.
All right, and now we will have our invocation from Pastor Bob Jacobs from Westminster Presbyterian. We welcome him tonight and his children, Allison and Aiden.
Please join me in prayer. God, our Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer, we meet tonight to pursue being a community that is decent and flourishing, and so we ask you to give us a proper sense of perspective. Help us to number our days and to know that the plans we make often outlast us and affect people beyond us. Give us humility and remind us to look after the interests of others. Give us the ability to truly listen when it is time to listen, and the candor to speak up when it's time to speak, so that we can go about this business with peace and respect. Be at work in this work here tonight, for you are concerned for the welfare of the community. I pray in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Pastor Jacobs. And thank you, Allison and Aiden, for coming tonight. We will now proceed with the adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions or changes to tonight's agenda? We'll first go to Alderman Jerry Wright.
I have a very brief statement that will require no action by the council on alcohol abuse in our community and suggesting a statewide tax on it. Thank you.
Okay, and we will add that as 28C, if that's okay.
Whenever. Fine.
All right. We also will not have Veteran of the Month tonight, so item number 2, if it's all right, we will replace that with an announcement on the pink shirts we're all wearing on cancer awareness. Any additions or changes to tonight's agenda? If not, can we have a motion? Motion by Nordstrom, second by Weifenbach. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda has been adopted. We're now on to our awards and recognitions, and if Darla Drew could join me up front. Tonight we are honored to present the Ward 5 Citizen of the Month Award to Jelaine Ariant Rollman. I've known Jelaine for a long time, and we used to work together at Vocational Rehabilitation Services, and I remember when she picked up Hoover, her service dog, and also Sable. Yeah, I remember both of them. And I'm just proud to call her a friend, and she's been a friend and a mentor to many in our community. She was nominated by Darla Drew, City Council member for Ward 5. So I would now like to turn the floor over to Darla to read this proclamation.
The entire thing? Yes. Okay. Julaine Ariant Rollman is a certified senior rehabilitation counselor for the state of South Dakota, Department of Human Services and Division of Service to the Blind and Visually Impaired. She grew up in Illinois, the eldest of 10, and settled in South Dakota after marrying her husband, Ken, who is a Brailleist. They have one son, William, and two granddaughters, Tessa and Tyler. Julaine completed her BA, summa cum laude, in history from Black Hills State University, thinking she would become a lawyer. Good choice. Until she became involved with organizations that advocate the rights of people with disabilities to go to work and participate in the community. Prior to finishing her degree, Julaine became a certified instructor through the U.S. Olympic Training Centers for Taekwondo and taught martial arts at her school. J.A. Wonders Olympic Taekwondo. She had numerous champion athletes to her credit through the AAU U.S. Olympic program. She and her husband moved to Gainesville, Florida, where she earned her master's degree from the University of Florida in rehabilitation counseling and mental health counseling. After graduation, Julaine became the director for the Blind Grant through a division of the Blind Services in Florida. However, they missed South Dakota and moved back home. She worked as a senior vocational rehabilitation counselor for the Division of Rehabilitation Services for 8 years and then transferred to the sister agency where she now works. Julaine is an Alpha Eta Society member and has served on boards of South Dakota Rehabilitation Association as president, Western Resources for the Disabled, Independence, the Mayor's Committees on Employment of People with Disabilities, Division of Rehabilitation Services, and the Division of Services to the Blind and Visually Impaired. She has previously been honored with the NISH Professional Excellence in Rehabilitation Award, the Governor's Public Personnel Award, and the Melvin Jones Award, the Lions' highest form of recognition to acknowledge an individual's dedication to humanitarian service. Julaine is currently the president of the National Federation of the Blind in Rapid City, vice president of the National Federation of the Blind of South Dakota, and is district governor through Lions for South Dakota 5SW. Julaine, who suffers from albinism, is legally blind and hearing impaired. Despite the many obstacles her disabilities have presented each and every day of her life, she has never let it get in her way, and is a woman who experiences life to the fullest by anyone's standards. She is an astonishingly upbeat, compassionate, and inspiring individual, and is truly an inspiration. We are so grateful Julaine is part of our community and are proud of all the service work she's done and continues to do. Thank you, Julaine.
I guess, first of all, I would say thank you. I'm very honored to receive this award. I believe in what I do, and I believe that everybody is a designer original, and that anyone can do anything they set their mind to. If you have a positive attitude, you will succeed, and you'll find a way to adapt to do what it is, except for maybe drive or fly a plane legally. How's that?
Very good.
All right. And would you tell her what I'm doing here?
A pin, a city pin on you. Jerry Wright, would you come up?
Now we're going to talk about these shirts, and I'm so embarrassed because like 7 other people are wearing the same shirt I am, and as a woman, that's not really cool, but I guess I'll go with it.
Toughen Up to Wear Pink is a campaign to help raise awareness and funds for the fight against cancer. This program has inspired many gifts to aid in the diagnosis and treatment of cancer at the John T. Vikirovich Regional Cancer Care Institute at Regional Hospital. Through programs like this, donations have enabled the purchase of an ultrasound machine, equipment for cancer treatment procedures called SRS, and most recently towards the tomotherapy program. The first major event of this campaign is on Saturday, January 24, for the Rapid City Rush's Pink at the Rink hockey game, followed by the Toughen Up to Wear Pink rodeo on Thursday, February 5 at the Stock Show and Rodeo. The crowd is encouraged in both places to wear the 2015 Tough Enough to Wear Pink t-shirts at both events. On Saturday, February 7, at the Doll Fine Arts Center, the Cowgirl Pink Campaign Brunch, an opportunity for cowgirls and city girls to get some pampering to benefit people even tougher, those battling cancer, will take place. Tough Enough to Wear Pink t-shirts will be available for purchase at the Regional Hospital Foundation office in the Regional Health Center at 2925 Regional Way or Dakota Radiology on 5th Street or the John T. Vikirovich Regional Cancer Care Center. You don't have to remember all that. Just remember the city's information line at 394-9300. That's 394-9300, or you can call the mayor's office at 394-4110. We encourage everyone to participate in this campaign. There are many people on this, even on the city council, that have been personally and dramatically affected by cancer. I know Alderman Weifenbach has lost his sister to cancer. I've lost mine to cancer, and Alderman Jerry Wright is a cancer survivor. And I invited Jerry to come up and say a few words about this campaign as well.
And I lost my hair, but it came back curly. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for supporting the campaign. There's another event in June. But number one, and I'm sending this message out to 67,647 people. I think that's our 72, well, whatever we are, that cancer is nothing, it is something to be afraid of, but it's nothing to run away from. And the reason I'm standing in front of you in the condition I am is that I paid attention to some symptoms that showed up, and I aggressively went after treatment. I asked our entire community to do that. If there's something that you think is not right, get to your doctor and get it treated, get it diagnosed, and take care of it. Early treatment is absolutely essential. That's what saved my life so far. And I think that there are members in my immediate family and friends since they were aware that I was going through treatment. They've had tests, and lo and behold, a couple of them came up with cancer, and they had to be treated. So I do ask, awareness is number one, and treatment is right behind it. And don't be afraid of it. It's not fun, but there's a way to do it. And thank you for the support from everybody on the council, mayor, and the community. Thank you.
does look good.
Lon Van Duzen, if you'd come up, along with Jeff Bigler, Parks Director. Lon Van Duzen's favorite color is actually blue. After spending 40 years working in the city's park system, one would think Lon's favorite color would be green. After receiving his Bachelor of Science degree in Park Management from South Dakota State in 1974, which is, by the way, the year I was born. But I went to USD in Vermillion, which is a better school. So he started his career with the city in 1975 in January. He's now being recognized for 40 years of service. He served as the city's urban forester from 75 to 84 and has served as the city's park superintendent since 85. He worked summers for the city parks department during his college years at Meadowbrook Golf Course from 1969 to 1974. Do you have an opinion on cross-country skiing, or do you want to stay out of that one?
I'm just going to stay
Okay,
out.
all right.
Thank you.
The only summer Lon didn't work for the city was 72, when he worked for the South Dakota Division of Parks as a park ranger at Bear Butte. Like many families that summer, his family was displaced by the flood. He is the caretaker of the city's parks, many of which were created in the aftermath of the 72 flood. He moved to Rapid City along with his parents in 1957. He was part of the first senior class to graduate from Stevens High School. Thank you so much for your service.
You know, if you look in any park in the city, you'll see improvements that have been made there under Lon's watch. He serves as a great example and an inspiration to his crew and his co-workers at the Parks Department, and he's earned the respect of city employees, both past and present, as well as anybody in the community that's come to know him. And I'm real happy to have him working with the Parks Department. He is a great source of institutional knowledge. Whenever we're in a bind as to what happened where and when, we go to Lon, and he has the answers for us. And so congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm getting kind of choked up, but I just wanted to say, over 40 years ago, there were some people that had enough confidence and trust in me to appoint me to the position of a city employee, and it's an honor to be a city employee. And I know most of those people aren't around anymore, but I certainly hope that I've been able to demonstrate that I was a good choice for them. There's a couple people I wish were here. I wish my mom and dad were here too, and they're not around anymore. But I do wish they were here to see this. But thank you all. It's been a pleasure working these last 40-some years with the city, and I appreciate the support of the mayor's office and city council and our directors and the public. They've been great. Thank you. Yeah.
Now we'd like to take a moment to recognize Charlie Cherkis for his 25 years of distinguished service to the Rapid City Parks Department. And just so everyone knows, because rumors can be spread quickly in this town, I've learned, and is that neither of these guys are retiring. So we're keeping them both for, hopefully, at least they're not retiring right now. And so we're keeping them for at least another 40 and 25 years, respectively. So I want to thank you, Charlie, for your dedicated service to our community, and now Lon will be saying a few words about you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to say that Charlie is part of a crew that makes the Parks Department look good, makes me look good. And Charlie has a lot of pride in what he does, and he has a lot of pride in the park system. You can tell by the work that he does and the effort that he puts forward for our division. And I'm proud to work with him. And I'm glad he's a part of our organization. Thank you, Charlie. Give him a round of applause.
Now on our agenda, we have an executive session to discuss or to consult with legal counsel regarding potential litigation. Joel, any?
Pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2 subsection 3 regarding both potential and pending litigation. So.
Very good. We have a motion. We have a motion by Doyle and a second by Laurenti. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We have a motion to come out of executive session from Richie Nordstrom and a second by John Roberts. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We will now go to Alderwoman Charity Doyle. Charity.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to have the City Attorney's Office proceed as discussed in executive session.
We have a motion by Doyle and a second by John Roberts? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. We're now on to general public comment. We have 2 general public comment items. We'll first go to Dr. Rebecca Lees, an update on uranium. Long time no see. Good to see you again.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. It has been a while, and since the Council registered their resolution back in 2013, and it was also a part of our state hearings there in the fall of 2013, some things that are really quite critical have just in the last couple of weeks come about that I thought you should be made aware of. And do you all have the handout I provided? Okay. It's the one looks like that. The first one is, the colored one, is an official little piece of a document from the EPA. And the full document is 191 pages long, which I have here. And the EPA is proposing to update their regulations pertaining to in situ leach or in situ recovery uranium mining. And these regulations are very old. They originated in 1983 and then were somewhat revised in 1995. And they were geared toward traditional uranium mining, not the in situ leach mining. And in this report, on the proposal report, because the opportunity for the public to make statement on this is still forthcoming, probably in the next 60 to 90 days. But on the first page it says, quote, ISR, in situ recovery, has a greater potential to directly affect groundwater than does conventional milling. And they now have so much data as to things that have been happening at the mines that are working around the country that they've deemed it necessary for public health and safety and the Safe Drinking Water Act and so on to revise these standards. So we're very excited about this because, as you know, Senate Bill 158 stripped our state protections, and so we have to rely on the federal for protection of our water and our public health. The second document there is the other colored one, and that was a very big win, if you will, for those of us that care about public health. And we knew that the uranium industry had obtained information from TVA on drilling records and the number of holes, all kinds of data pertaining to the Dewey Burdock area, but we were prevented from seeing it. But the NRC ruled that we would be allowed to have an expert spend a few months examining this, and that was Dr. Hannon Legary, who I've included his just a brief part of his resume for you there. And he did this, and through doing this, found many, many things of concern that would lead one to worry about contamination if this mining were to be done. So it's very short. I encourage you to read this, and I thank you for your time, and I'll keep you posted. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lees. We will now go to our next speaker request form under general public comment, and Michael Galanda. Sir, you have the floor. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. This past weekend was a first for the state of South Dakota and the city of Rapid City. The Black Hills Center for Equality, with conjunction in several gay lesbian organizations and non-gay people and organizations, held the first Equality Summit. Very good. Was very interesting, of everything from health to everything. And to get to the point, what I was saying is, tonight you're going to be receiving a report about the Human Rights Commission. Well, the problem is, one of the things that was talked about at this event was the impending act by the Supreme Court, goes to the Supreme Court, the allowing of same-sex marriage, which is due to pass South Dakota, which makes South Dakota making it legal for same-sex marriage. Well, under South Dakota law, under her constitution, Since the South Dakota Constitution doesn't have gay, lesbian, or transgender in her Constitution, no part of the HRC can help a gay, lesbian, or transgender if they are fired under this act because they're not listed. They're not eligible to be talked about. So when we get our gay marriage and everything, so if a same-sex couple goes to rent, gets fired, or get married, they are potentially eligible to be fired. And this commission, in all the good work it does a lot of good work. I'm not going to say it doesn't. It does. But she has a hole. The hole is the South Dakota State Constitution does not have gay, lesbian, or transgender in her constitutional right. And that makes a hole for the HRC. So we have an impending problem. And that's all I really wanted to say, Mr. Mayor, but say congratulations for help hosting it. We're going to have the next one next year in Sioux Falls. I would invite all of you to come visit. It's a very inviting experience. We have a lot of speakers, and a lot of material will be come up on onehills.com Facebook page. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We do not have any more general public comment items. We will now move on to our public comment. Public comment is now open for items 4 through 27. Items 4 through 27. We have one speaker request form for that section, and that's on item 23. We'll now recognize Sue Timmons. And while Sue is coming up, she's one of our Human Relations Commissioners. And I'll read this item into the record. It's regarding acknowledging the Human Relations Commission's semi-annual update. Sue, you have the floor. Good evening.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm Sue Timmons, the Chair of the Human Relations Commission, and you've received a copy of our required semi-annual report, but I'd like to just briefly point out a couple of things that we've accomplished since last spring when I spoke before you. Foremost, I think the initial phase of processing a complaint of discrimination has been greatly streamlined, and individuals who feel that an adverse action was taken against them, either because of their race or maybe because of a handicapping condition or gender. Just to give you an example, they can now contact Wade Nyberg, who works with the Human Relations Commission and in the City Attorney's Office. So just briefly, an intake interview will be scheduled and a complaint drafted if all the conditions are met for a verified complaint. The party against whom the complaint is being lodged is then notified right away and given 30 days to get back to the commission with a response. Once that response is received, follow-up interviews with the parties may be scheduled in order to provide a complete investigation. Then an investigation is prepared for the commission. So the great advantage that I see to this process is that complaints are now handled in a very timely fashion. In the past, these initial steps in filing a complaint could take much longer since the commission met only once a month. So the City Attorney's Office is available to handle inquiries about potential complaints daily. This alone, I believe, enables better access by the public to the services that the Human Relations Commission can provide. In addition, and in order for the members to be sufficiently prepared for their role, as it is under the revised ordinance, a handbook was drafted and given to each commissioners. And as I stated in the report, it's over 75 pages and probably growing as we need. In-service training on policy, procedure, and civil rights law has been ongoing and will continue in the future. In addition, we are exploring ways to carry out our public education role, and we are one of the first things we're planning to do is to update our page on the city website so that it's more educational, accessible, and user-friendly. And it's my hope that we can accomplish that right away. I want to conclude by saying that oftentimes we receive complaints from individuals who feel that they've been treated unfairly. It may not rise to the level of unlawful discrimination under our statutes and ordinance. But in spite of that, we'll always try to assist them to, or refer them to the appropriate agency so that they can get help. And I thank you very much.
We do not have any further speaker request forms for items 4 through 27. Have I missed anyone? Last call. Public comment is now closed for this section, items 4 through 27. Any council members or staff members like to pull items for separate consideration? Jason, did you have an item that you would like pulled? We'll go to our EMS chief, Jason Culberson.
Item 26.
Item 26. Okay. Any other items? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the balance? Motion by Laurenti, second by Nordstrom to approve items 4 through 27 with the exception of 26. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are now going to Richie Nordstrom, our Legal and Finance Vice Chairman, to read item number 26.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 26 is authorize the mayor and finance officer to sign real property purchase agreement between the City of Rapid City and Elk Vale Business Park, LLC, for Catherine Avenue property, and I so move.
Second. We have a motion by Nordstrom and a second by Wright. Do we have any discussion? Any discussion? Jason Culberson.
We're requesting to continue this for at least 2 weeks. We had some issues that come up since legal and finance that we need to investigate prior to allowing you guys to sign it.
Okay.
So.
Very good.
If I may amend my motion to continue for 2 weeks.
If that's okay with the seconder?
To the next legal and finance.
Okay, so this will come to the January 28 legal and finance meeting. That is the motion. And it's okay with the seconder?
Absolutely.
Next week. By then? So that'd be February 11. That's almost a month.
I'm going to defer to maybe Joel to see if he has an answer for that one, how long we should look at. I know enough about this item that we needed to continue it for 2 weeks, so.
Well, we take it to the 28th, and then if we need more time, then it can be continued to
that would be just fine then.
11th.
Yeah, I think the 28th is, at this point, we just need to clear some stuff up, so.
Very good. January 28 legal and finance meeting. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to the end of consent. We have our non-consent items, 28 through 39. Public comment is now open on those. And we have 4 speaker request forms on the topic of cross-country skiing activities at Meadowbrook Golf Course. And we'll first go to Craig Weber. Good evening, Craig.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, and thank you very much. Appreciate it. After the Parks and Rec meeting that I went to, which was on a Thursday, I decided to do some phone calling around this state. In Sioux Falls, Prairie Green, Elmwood, Keene Park, Baker Crossing, my question to on all these calls was, do you allow cross-country skiing and or bicycle riding knobby tires in the wintertime? Prairie Green, no. Elmwood, no. Keene Park, no. Baker Crossing, no. Fox Run, Yankton, no. Arrowhead Country Club, Rapid City, no. Hart Ranch, no. Elks, if you're a member only. In Red Rock, it's never been brought up there, according to Jason. Elkhorn Ridge and Spearfish, no. Moccasin Creek, Aberdeen, no. Dakota Dunes, no. Wild Oak, Mitchell, no. So why is it here in Rapid City? I don't know. I don't know if the lady that brought this to Mr. Wright, and I don't know if you council people know about this, but it's called the Rapid City, South Dakota Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12.28, Municipal Golf Courses. 12.28.020 fees, payment required. No person shall go upon any fairway, tee, green, or of the municipal golf course unless he or she first pays the required fee for playing golf. Not for skiing, not for bicycle riding, for playing golf. Now, you folks, this ordinance was brought up in some Rapid City Council. I don't know why. So why aren't you following your own ordinances that you have on paper? I don't know. Meadowbrook, by the way, is not a park for the ladies here. It's a municipal golf course, not a Rapid City park. There's plenty of parks in this city that you can go skiing to your heart's delight. Usually we don't get enough snow. And the northern hills kind of is surprising because they get a lot more snow than we get here, but they're not allowed to cross-country ski on their golf courses. If you want to cross-country ski, you couldn't do it now anyhow, unless you want to go out. Maybe you can ski in all the goose poop, because there's tons of it laying out there on our golf course right now with the thousands of geese that are out there. And I often, the paper recently about the city should consider skiers' request by the Rapid City Journal. It's too bad they didn't do some research and find out about this ordinance, or they wouldn't back skiing on, at least I don't think they would. At the other meeting that I went to, I made a mistake. My time is up?
It is.
Okay, good enough.
Thank you.
Nobody that I know of on this in Meadowbrook Golf Course, and there's 400 to 600 members out there. I can't get hold of all of them because a lot of them are down south. But the ones I talk to, nobody wants skiing on the golf course.
Thank you. We'll now go to Rick Emerson, also on item 39. Good evening, Rick. Long time no see.
Mr. Mayor, Council. Some of you know I've been a resident of Rapid City since 1991, and I'm an avid outdoor recreation enthusiast. I was a course designer and assistant race director for Primal Quest Badlands, and then did the Dakota Road Gaining Championships, and then organized the World Road Gaining Championships last August. Basically, my vision is to see outdoor recreation as a sustainable economic force in the Black Hills. I am a skier, and I'm also presently the president of the Black Hills Ski Club. Our club has a number of like-minded outdoor enthusiasts. What some might not know is I am also a golfer. I grew up in Cooperstown, New York. I was a cross-country runner, and actually the golf course I grew up on, they let us run on the course. The PGA Pro and the golf course superintendent supervised our activities and made sure our lines of travel didn't affect or impact the golf course. Actually, that's where I learned to play golf. Because I was running, I saw the golf course, and within a couple of years, I started caddying, and then after that, I became caddy master and got my handicap down to about a 12, and I've been lower than that. The Meadowbrook terrain is attractive for other uses, and I believe travel lanes could be optimized to minimize impact while incorporating existing paths. While we golfers try to ensure we hit it straight and true, usually outdoor recreation enthusiasts hug the tree lines or the slopes of the banks and that type of thing. And so we just need to share the golf etiquette with the other outdoor enthusiasts. I do not promote wide open alternative use, but do believe shared multi-season use of city property could be a win-win for all the parties. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. And we'll now go to Judith Kennedy, also on this item. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I want to thank you for even bringing this topic to a discussion. I think it brings forth what might be the optimal and most equitable use of public property. And some examples I want to give, and you've heard where they won't allow cross-country skiing on golf courses. Some of the ones I'm most familiar with is Pocatello, Idaho, where they allow it on the Highland Golf Course. They not only allow it, they encourage it. They sometimes come out and groom the trails. And for no fee, the only requirement is that you have to stay off the greens and the fairway, not the fairway, excuse me, and the tee boxes. The city of Deadwood also allows cross-country skiing on Tomahawk, with the only requirement that you cannot be on the greens. I understand also the Pentagon allows skiing on its course, open to the public, free of charge. So there are many examples, actually, of where cross-country skiing is allowed on city golf courses. Someone brought up that we should be able to use the other parks or the bike path, and while I think the parks and the bike path are some of the most wonderful amenities of Rapid City, they do not allow themselves, or they're not good for cross-country skiing, because what we need is an expanse of snow. When I've tried cross-country skiing along the bike path, and in every section you soon run into some kind of an obstacle, whether it be a plowed road or the cleared bike path or a bridge. So what we're looking for is an expanse, an area where we can ski as in more distance. And it was brought up that Sioux Falls doesn't have golf course cross-country skiing, but that they do have 3 designated cross-country ski areas, which they maintain, and they even have, under the Parks Department, they rent ski equipment for cross-country skiing. So if we have other areas in Rapid City that would be good for cross-country skiing, that would be fantastic. The one I am most familiar with is the Meadowbrook Golf Course. Fees have been brought up several times, especially, by some of the golfers. There are some sports that are very expensive, such as downhill skiing and golf. They require an incredible amount of infrastructure and manpower and natural resources in order for them to even happen. As a season pass holder for many years at Terry Peak, I know that my fees are paying for those very expensive things that make that sport possible. Same too with golf. Cross-country skiing is well known for having very, very little impact on the environment. All we need is an expanse of snow and permission. So I'm asking the City Council if you will consider changing the ordinance so we can ski on Meadowbrook Golf Course, except on the greens and the tee boxes. Thanks.
Thank you, Judith. And we'll now go to Tim Rangich, also on this item, item 39.
Thanks, Mayor, Council. I just want to speak to in favor of letting city parks look into this. Winter use, snowpack routes, and of course that would require defining the users, defining the route. Lots of conditions there, as she stated, but I'd just like to speak in favor of letting city parks move forward with investigating it.
Thank you.
Could be a good use.
And we'll now go to Tony Martin, also on this item. Good evening, Tony.
Good evening to all of you. How many of you are cross-country skiers up there? Any of you? If you haven't done it, you haven't lived totally in the wintertime. The Meadowbrook Golf Course, I have skied many, many beautiful Sunday afternoons. I have skied along the river. I have never damaged anything in your golf course for you golfers. I'm not a golfer. And all we who are skiers know who does the most damage. That's the geese. They twist out there's nothing you can do about that. There's nothing I can do about that. But please, cross-country skiing has been proven to be one of the most whole and natural, wonderful exercises for the whole mind and body that there is. For 20 years, I skied every Saturday morning, 5,000 to 6,500 feet in the Black Hills. Sunday afternoon after church, I go and ski along the river and go with the ducks and the geese, and it is so refreshing. Please don't take that away from us. I never heard a thing. I'm not out on the greens. I'm not on your fairway. I'm going along the river, and I am very careful with your golf course. Please don't keep the skiers off. Thank you.
Thank you. We do not have any further speaker request forms on items 28 through 39. Have I missed anyone? Last call. Okay, public comment is now closed for those items. We'll go to item 28. This will be a brief presentation on the upcoming Black Hills Stock Show by the director, Ron Jeffries. Good evening, Ron.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Appreciate the time to visit with you here, and I will be brief. Just a quick overview for the Black Hills Stock Show. First of all, I don't know how many of you are aware, but the Black Hills Stock Show actually started in 1959 as the Black Hills Winter Show, and it was a project for the Rapid City Chamber of Commerce Ag Committee. And they thought it'd be a great deal to come back out and showcase our local cattle. They ran it that way up until 1966. 1966, the fair had been involved the entire time as a host of the event, and in 1966, the fair took over the actual operation of the entire show and retitled it the Black Hills Stock Show, and that's the show that we know today. However, it has gone through a number of great additions and exchanges along the way, and of course the addition of the Rushmore Plaza Civic Center made a great impact in the growth of the stock show. The things I wanted to share with you today briefly, first of all, our official dates are January 30th through February 8th. However, starting January 24th, we have an entire week of activities, horse activities, out at the fairgrounds. Those activities will take place at the James Kerstead Event Center. We'll draw competitors from 14 different states that will come out and compete in cattle roping, or a calf roping fraternity, team roping fraternity, an AQHA, quarter horse show, National Reining Cow Horse Association competition, team sorting, stray gathering. All events you probably never heard about. But it's events that draw competitors that travel, as I said, from 14 states away to come back out and enjoy the beautiful Black Hills and spend a week with us prior to the start of the Black Hills Stock Show. Many of those competitors will stay through the first weekend and in through Monday with additional activities we have hosted there. When you start the stock show, I do want to put a couple of things on your calendar. Friday, January 30th at 10 a.m., we're going to do a ribbon cutting, a kickoff for the stock show. It'll be at Rushmore Hall. We'd like to invite all of you to please attend if you can. I think we have arrangements for Charity to present a welcome. I think, Mr. Mayor, that you're gone that day, and I think Charity's set to give a welcome, so we appreciate that. Other new events, if you don't continue to improve and change and bring different activities to the forefront for the public, things get stale. So the Central States Fair staff, board of directors, volunteer, pride themselves on constantly creating new events. A couple of those new events are, 2 years ago we started a leather show. It was brand new. We had a ton of great comments on it. We're bringing it back again this year. And we're featuring the Presidential Saddle. It's an absolutely fantastic piece of leatherwork that I encourage everybody to stop and see. That'll be the first 3 days of the stock show, the 30th, 31st, and February 1st only, and that'll be at the theater lobby in the Civic Center. Following that up, we have the second year of the Quilt Show. Again, a great opportunity. Started out with as a ladies program, but I see more and more men going through it all the time, and that's encouraging. You know, it's a great event. We bring a couple of busloads of quilters from Gillette that come over and take part in that for the day. A very nice event, and a second year for that event as well. We also on Sunday, the February 1st, Saturday, January 31st, we've got a Beringer Ingelheim Vetmedica Cattlemen's Conference. It's an educational program designed to help our ranching community come back and learn about everything from estate planning to legislative updates for what's going on at Pier, and to the latest in economics, and also about quality replacement heifers, how to improve your bottom line as you're a rancher here in South Dakota. We'll follow that up with the Stockman's Banquet and Ball that Saturday night. That's a new date, not a new event, but it is a new date to take place on that Saturday. So if you're marking your calendars. Steak and Egg Breakfast, Cattlemen's Steak and Egg Breakfast, Sunday, February 1st, free to the public. Again, another sponsored deal to host the cattlemen as they come in. And a Super Bull Party. Another thing that Beringer Ingelheim did is they brought 100 pounds of Rocky Mountain oysters, and they're going to fry them up and feed them free to the public on Super Bowl Sunday. So you'll get a chance to come out and watch the game and root for your favorite team and experience Rocky Mountain oysters. Ranch Rodeo is Tuesday. It's the original official Ranch Rodeo, a great event. I have a sign-up sheet in the office, or actually in the caucus room for you. If you're interested in attending, we'd like you to be our guest and come see the James Kirstead Event Center and some of the events and activities that we host out there, including the sheepdog trials. That takes place on Thursday, the 5th of February. And the one thing I'll mention about that event, we've had great success working with SDSU Extension and making this an all-sheep day at the Black Hills Stock Show. A few years ago, we brought in a National Sheep Shearing Championships, and it was an event that had previously been held at Denver, and we started hosting as just a sheep shearing event. The competitors enjoyed it so much that they brought their national championships to Rapid City. We've been hosting the national championships for the last 4 years, I believe. And if you have not seen it, you know, these men and women can shear a sheep in 8 to 10 seconds. It's phenomenal. It's really a very cool thing to watch. And of course, that night we have the North American Sheepdog Trial Championships. Need to mention that we also provide some entertainment during the stock show. On Friday night, February 6th, we've got the Black Hills Stock Show Stampede, which will feature dueling pianos, and then a Texas Red Dirt Country Band. It's Casey Donahue Band. Great guy. You probably have never heard of it. He's not your normal radio station guy, but Texas has their own music scene developing, and this is one of the up-and-comers. We're very fortunate to bring him up here to Rapid City. We invite you out to see him. And then one of the new events that we have is called a Boots and Beer Festival. And when you think about it, the brewing companies in South Dakota are one of our agricultural industries. And what our hopes is that eventually we'll be developing beer in South Dakota from the ground to the glass. That we'll build everything from the hops to wheat to everything we take to produce our own beer here locally. This will feature 8 to 9 South Dakota breweries that'll be performing a beer tasting. One wristband price. You'll have dueling pianos again and a band that evening, and that'll be from 6 to 9 on Saturday, February 7th at the Event Center. The last thing that I wanted to mention was that the Custer State Park Buffalo Sale actually started as a product at the Black Hills Stock Show. And they again then formed their own buffalo sale. But we continue with one of the largest buffalo sales in the nation with Dakota Terrier Buffalo Sale. And that takes place on the final Sunday, February 8th, at the Captain Glenn Building. I would encourage you to please check your schedules. I left a set of these in the caucus room for you. And there's a sign-up sheet if you're interested in anything or you'd like a personal tour of any part of the stock show. We'd be glad to provide that for you, and I'll answer any questions you might have.
Well, thank you very much, Ron. We'll first go to Darla Drew.
Hello, Ron.
Hi.
Have you had any, can you tell any adverse effects from Storm Atlas for participation at the stock show?
You know, fortunately, the recovery was relatively quick. Not complete, but quick. We had a great support of the Ranchers Relief Program last year from across the area. And the nice thing about it is there was tons and tons of ranchers helping ranchers, as well as public urban entities helping as well. So that provided a lot of the relief. The Farm Bill came out and provided some disaster relief for loss of cattle and livestock and some drought relief. And then, of course, most importantly, we had great rain this past summer, so we've got hay, and we've had the best cattle prices we've ever had. So it really is a chance for the ranching community, which is such a strong part of West River, to do some catch-up. Because of that, I expect we'll have a really good investment in cattle genetics at our cattle sales.
And one more comment. I think you missed one of the biggest changes that happened at the stock show or the Central States Fair and Rodeo, and that was when you took over. It's been a very successful leadership that you've provided for both events, and I think the entire city has noticed the growth in both of them and the financial impact and the economic development that you've provided with your leadership. So I want to thank you for that.
Well, and I'll also thank the council for sharing Councilwoman Doyle with us. She serves on our board as a voting member. And we do serve as a set of nonprofits. We serve by a member-based organization. So we have volunteers that come out and chair and host and work on all of our committees. If it was not the community approach to making these things happen, it wouldn't be a single event driven by any one individual. It truly is a community.
Deflect, Ron.
It truly is a community event.
We know that a great deal of the lion's share of thanks would go to you and your leadership, and of course your board. Thank you. Thank you. I'm done.
We'll now go to Alderman Ron Weifenbach. Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dittos from what Alderman Drew said, and I also wanted to outreach to Alderman Doyle for getting you in here, and I had the opportunity years ago to be the liaison, and agriculture is like one of the top industries in South Dakota, if not probably the most, the biggest, and we've talked about the Civic Center expansion, all these types of things, so it's really taken a lot of time delving into the numbers. And Ron, what you guys do there at the Central States Fair, and what you do it with, the tools you guys have and what you produce with those tools is absolutely amazing for the citizens of Rapid City and the economy of Rapid City. I'm glad to see you here tonight. I'm excited about seeing you here tonight. What you guys do and your volunteers, I'd like to, if I knew every one of their names, I would individually thank them, because I've been in these meetings and they have passion. They're not getting paid for what they do. They love what they do. These events, the sheep shearing events, the music that you guys provide is top notch. The rodeo is awesome. The Super Bowl is awesome. I've had chances to sit on those. They're fantastic, and I can't even thank you enough. And all your volunteers, if they ever want to pile in here, I'd like to thank each and every one of them. As you see them, if you would pass on from the council our thanks, and thanks from the citizens of Rapid City for what you guys do. There's a very definite spike in the revenues of tax revenues when you guys put on that stock show. A very evident spike. The only other evident spike would be at Christmas time and during the summer. And I appreciate what you guys do, and I'm glad to see you here. And again, thank you, and thank every one of your volunteers, and I know there's hundreds of them.
There's about 400, so
absolutely.
they would definitely fill the chambers.
There's absolutely no way that would be pulled off if people had to be paid to do that. And so we appreciate that. We honestly do, and earnestly from our hearts. Thank you.
Thank you. And I apologize for talking so fast, but I saw that yellow light before it comes up so quickly that I didn't think I'd be able to get everything in. So again, thank you. Hope to see you at the stock show.
We'll now go to Alderman Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Move to acknowledge.
Motion to acknowledge and a second by Laurenti. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item 28A is a correction of the November 17, 2014 council minutes. Do we have a motion or a presentation? We have a motion by Ron Weifenbach and a second by Steve Laurenti. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. 28B, stormwater drainage assessment update. Alderwoman Charity Doyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just more of a public information piece. This being the first year that the stormwater drainage utility has been in action, people are starting to see it on their tax bill for the first half of the year. What we've learned is that a lot of mortgage companies don't take it for granted that if you have a mortgage that your escrow account is going to take care of that. Check with your mortgage company, because we're finding a lot of mortgage companies will not automatically take care of that, which means you'll be needing to be responsible to pay that fee to the county directly. So just as a public information piece, please take a look at it. Please read your statement and make those calls if you do have a mortgage so that you're not in trouble. Thank you.
Thank you, Charity. Any further discussion on that item? Do we have a motion to acknowledge? We have a motion by Wright and a second by Nordstrom to acknowledge 28B. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 28C, this is regarding alcohol tax. We'll go Alderman Jerry Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. I had the privilege of addressing the commissioners this morning about this, but I have a little different spin on it, but it's the same message. Yesterday was Martin Luther King Day, and we did not meet in honor of that. But I think it is an appropriate time to state that the Rapid City Police Department and our other local and state law enforcement agencies are not racist, nor are their responses be taken as racial actions. Regarding the press coverage of our recent tragedies, all of them, involving the loss of life with trauma to all involved, including the law enforcement officers, the true cause and the root of the problem seems to evade the attention, and it continues its destructive path. The root of this community violence being that of alcohol or drug abuse, resulting in personal tragedy. In reading about recent shootings, knifings, rollovers, hostage situations, and so forth, the common cause is that the event occurs under the influence. In our recent shooting, the press states that the officer entered a situation upon request where a highly intoxicated individual who had several drugs in his system became a victim. He had a knife and had threatened by charging the officer, and the victim had made comments about being a good day to die. This was a very, very real tragedy, not caused by the officer in any way, but by the mixing of alcohol, drugs, and other issues, culminating in a tragedy for the individual, the family, the officer, and our entire community. Our officers, local, state, and federal, do not go to work hoping to shoot someone or to inflict any harm on anyone. What they want is a peaceful work shift and to return safely to their families. We must address the real issue, and that issue being substance abuse and the destructive power it has on our individuals, our youth, our families, and our communities. We must enact, in my opinion, a tax on alcohol to pay for its tragic consequence, to pay for their recovery and treatment, and to require that all drug money seized by law enforcement be used in the same way. For it is true, we are all related, and we must work for a problem, a solution, and not be directing our rightful anger. Thank you, sir, and council.
Thank you, Alderman Wright. Do we have a motion or discussion? We have a motion by Laurenti and a second by Nordstrom to acknowledge item 28C. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're now on ordinances, and we'll go to Alderman Richie Nordstrom to read 29 to the record for us.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 29 is the first reading of ordinance 6026, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, rezoning the within described property as requested by Ferber Engineering Company for Aspen Ridge Lawn and Landscape LLC for rezoning from the no-use district to general commercial district for property generally described as being located south of Sheridan Lake Road between Croyle Avenue and Dunsmore Road. And I move to approve in conjunction with planned development designation.
Motion by Nordstrom. Second by Darla Drew. Alderman Darla Drew. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 30.
Item 30 is the first reading of ordinance 6027, an ordinance amending section 1706 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, rezoning the within described property as requested by Spurlick Consulting Incorporated for Don Weisler for rezoning from general agricultural district to medium density residential district to for property generally described as being located southwest of the intersection of North Creek Drive and East Anamosa Street, and I move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Nordstrom, second by Alderman John Roberts. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 31 is first reading ordinance 6028, an ordinance amending section 1706 of chapter 17 of the municipal code, rezoning the within described property as requested by Spurlock Consulting Incorporated for Don Weisler for rezoning from general commercial district to medium density residential district for property generally described as being located southwest of the intersection of North Creek Drive and East Anamosa Street, and I move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Nordstrom, second by Alderman John Roberts. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 32.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 32 is the first reading of ordinance number 6030, supplemental appropriation for number 1 for 2015, and I move to approve.
Motion by Nordstrom, second by Alderman Darla Drew. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And we'll now go to Alderwoman Amanda Scott for items 33 through 39.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 33 is a request from Spurlick Consulting Incorporated for Vantage Properties LLC, Don Wessler, for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots 2 through 5 of Vista Ridge subdivision and lots 6 and 7 of Block 1 and lots 4 and 5 of Block 2 of Menard subdivision, property generally described as being located southeast of East North Street and Century Road intersection. I make a motion to approve with stipulations.
Motion by Scott, second by Nordstrom. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 34.
A request by Dream Design International Incorporated for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed tracks A, B, and C of Red Rocks Shadows subdivision, generally described as being located south of Portage Road between Merrifield Drive and Dunsmore Road. I make a motion to approve with stipulations.
Second.
Motion by Scott, second by Drew. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. 35.
A request by Fisk Land Surveying and Consulting Engineers, Inc. for Franklin O. Simpson for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed tracks C and D of Fountain View subdivision, property generally described as being located at 1901 Harmony Heights Lane. Make a motion to approve with stipulations.
Okay, we have a motion and then we have a second by Alderman Richie Nordstrom. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 36.
You can tell it's the beginning of the year with all these preliminary plans.
Yes.
A request by Fisk Land Surveying and Consulting Engineers Incorporated for Robert and Stacy Tetcher for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots 2A and 2B of Dom subdivision, property generally described as being located at 6664 Dark Canyon Road. Make a motion to approve with stipulations.
We have a motion and we have a second by John Roberts. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 37.
A request by Spurlick Consulting Incorporated for Dean and Peggy Kelly for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots AR1 and lot AR2 of Lot 1 of Block 2 of Canyon Lake Heights, property generally described as being located northeast of the intersection of Cliff Drive and Fairhaven Drive. I make a motion to approve with stipulations.
Second.
Motion by Scott, second by Drew. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 38.
A request by FMG Engineering for am I saying that right? Duanick Brothers and Gilchrist Land Company for a preliminary subdivision plan for Lot 1 and Lot 2 of T&M subdivision, property generally described as being located about 1 mile south of the intersection of Cantron Boulevard and the South Dakota Highway 79. I make a motion to approve with stipulations.
Motion by Scott, second by Laurenti. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 39.
Item number 39 is a discussion on cross-country skiing and other winter recreational activities at Meadowbrook Golf Course. I'd like to make a motion to acknowledge the discussion that we're about to have.
Okay. We have a motion to acknowledge and a second by Laurenti. Let's first go to our Parks and Recreation Director, Jeff Bigor. We have several lights on from the council, but let's first get a brief update from him and recommendation on procedure. Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening. Thank you. This item was brought to us by some members of the community that were requesting that we take a look at utilizing the Meadowbrook Golf Course during the winter months for cross-country skiing. Now, we've also had a request, or actually I guess a request to also take a look at the possibility of allowing fat biking, not only at Meadowbrook Golf Course, but just in general in our parks. Fat biking, for those of you who don't know, it's not a traditional mountain bike. It's a mountain bike style frame with very large pneumatic tires on it. And they're used during the winter months in snowy conditions. And from what I've been able to discover in the research that I've done, they actually do not do a lot of damage to the trails and tracks that they use. They are used entirely in snowy conditions, but do not create much of an issue. So this item came to us, and we did discuss it with our Parks and Rec Board. And what we did was we just let them know that this is an item that was coming forward from the community, and that we were going to begin to research it as a possibility, perhaps at the golf course or at other areas within our park system for next season. It's already kind of probably too late for this season to do anything about it, but I think it is something that we certainly should look at in providing additional wintertime outdoor recreational opportunities to our citizens.
So are you recommending this go to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, or are you recommending the council take action, yea or nay, tonight?
My recommendation would be to send it back to staff to do some additional research and then take it to our Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for any action.
Very good, thank you. We'll go to the first of three lights, Alderman Jerry Wright.
I think I can do this. I'd like to make a motion that this item is referred to the Parks and Rec Board and Park and Rec staff for evaluation and a recommendation back to City Council by October 1 of 2015.
Second.
We have a motion by Jerry Wright and a second by Alderman Ron Weifenbach. You still have the floor if you want it.
I'm done.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right. We are now on public hearing items 40 and 41. I do not have any speaker request forms for items 40 or 41. Have I missed anyone? Public comment is now closed for items 40 and 41. Can we have a motion on both? By Alderman John Roberts and a second by Richie Nordstrom to approve items 40 and 41. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. Bill list, Colleen Sumption, Finance Officer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have one addition to the bill list to RCS Construction for $2,828, bringing the new grand total to $6,055,354.39.
We have a motion by Laurenti and a second by Alderman Ron Weifenbach. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Nordstrom and a second by John Roberts. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. 8:09 p.m.